Welcome to the BC Wine Show and podcast. I'm Marnie Martin, your host, and today on the show I have George Hanson from the Seven Stones Winery in the Coston Carameus area of BC. He's got a beautiful story and an even more interesting winery. You're not going to want to miss this. So grab yourself a glass of wine and I'll see you on the inside. Hello, George. Thanks for being here with me today on the BC Wine Show. It's a busy time of year, so I appreciate you taking some time to spend with us.
My pleasure.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I got a chance to come up to the winery a few weeks back, and I was so impressed by all the cool stuff you have going on up there. So I thought it was a great idea for us to sit down and have a conversation. So tell me, first of all, how did you even get into the wine business to begin with? Because I believe you had another career in your past life.
So it's been my lifelong dream to have a vineyard and a winery. And that dream was born in Australia. I was visiting relatives in Australia, and they lived right next to a vineyard and a winery. And I got to know their neighbor, and I looked at what he was doing as a great lifestyle. And so I decided that's what I wanted to do with my life. Of course, then I was living in Whitehorse, Yukon, and really difficult to grow grapes there.
Yeah.
And, but I started to prepare myself, and so I started studying chemistry and making wine as an amateur winemaker. And then every summer I would come down south looking for a piece of land, so that when I retired, I'd be land ready and be ready to start my dream. And I used to be a human resource professional for the telephone company, and I used to give out the packages. Bye, thank you, here's your money, bye. and then Bell Canada bought us, and they wanted to downsize.
And it was George's turn.
Bye, thank you, I've got your money, bye. And so I left Yukon in 1999, moved to a Soyuz, and then 3 weeks later, I was driving by this property, and the owners were pounding in a for sale sign, and I bought it that night. And
a little bit of serendipity.
Oh, absolutely, and it was meant to be. And I had done my homework, so I knew that this was a number one site, and so I'm just fortunate to be at the right place at the right time.
Amazing. So when did you actually open the winery?
So a little further back, so I moved here in 99, built the vineyards in 2000, 2001. First vintage was 03, and opened the tasting room in 07. But after 02, I started to get a little bit lonely, and so I went online and I met this beautiful lady, Vivienne. She lived in Prince George, and we met in person and fell in love, and I convinced her to move here and marry me, and she did.
Wow.
And, so together we were pursuing my dream. But Vivienne had a very good eye for architecture and design. And she announced to me that I had the ugliest house in the world. We needed to build a new house. And so I kind of protested that. I said, no, it's not time. When we'll build a winery, and then when money comes, then we'll build a house. And she said, no, we're going to build a house. She said, and I'll pay for it. Oh,
wow.
Okay. Come in.
No argument there.
No, so in 2004, we built a new house. And then in 2005, I was on her case about this and said, okay, so I need to build some caves. She said, no, honey. She said, we just built this house and we don't need more payments or more debt. The next year, Vivian, we need to build some caves. No, she said, we don't need them yet. We're too small. And I started to see this pattern of no. So one day she said to me, honey, could we go touring in Napa and Sonoma? I said, absolutely. I've got a friend down there, Jacques, and I'll phone him up and he'll be our tour guide. Hello, Jacques, it's George. I want you to take us to every winery that has a cave. It's funny how things happen, but after the fourth winery, she said, honey, we should build some caves.
Crazy like a fox, George.
Yeah, I learned from the best. And so we had made our plans to build some caves. We toured all of the caves in Napa, Sonoma, and in Italy. And we got inspired by some of the European designs. And so we made our plans based on all of those different wineries. And then unfortunately, Vivian passed away. She had succumbed to ovarian cancer. And that was before we'd started the project. But that little French Canadian girl always got the last word in edgewise, and without exception.
Wow.
And before she had passed, she had left me a note in a very obscure place. And it was in this book called Into the Earth. And it was a pictorial guide of all of the caves in Napa and Sonoma. And she told me exactly what she wanted in this note. But the note was written on a black matted page, the second last page in the book. And she had written in black ink. So of course it was very obscure. And we discovered this note halfway through the build. So we changed all of our plans, and I'm proud to say that she got all of her asks. And then 5 years after her passing, which was 2012, we dedicated the caves to her.
Wonderful. That's such a beautiful story.
Mm-hmm. Well, the caves are pretty beautiful too.
Wow. It's so nice having her here.
And so Colin, Vivian's oldest son, he was the builder of the caves. And he built this gazebo and he built this spiral staircase. This spiral staircase is a perfect helix, and Colin is very artistic. So he's painted the railings with phosphoric and luminescent paint so they glow in the dark.
Oh, so cool.
So this is the main entrance into the cave.
This is great.
So this is the events cave, and so this is a place where we have winemakers dinners and special events. We rent this place out for weddings and birthdays and anniversaries and things like that.
What a special space.
Yeah, and it's we have winemakers dinners 4 or 5 times a year. But I've designed this room for work and or play. So there's drains in both sides, and the floors are all cambered down to drain. So when we are not in mode winemakers dinners, then it gets filled up with fermenters or barrels, and if we spill some wine, we just wash down and all the dirty water goes away.
Isn't that great?
Before we built this cave, this part of the cave, we got some advice from Bose, the audio engineers from Bose, and so they told us what the shape should be and what the inside textures should be.
Okay.
And so we have a speaker every 8 feet in here, and the acoustics are phenomenal, so I'll play something for you so you can.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really, well, it's interesting when you're in a certain kind of environment that hasn't been created that way. Quite often, if you get a bunch of voices talking, it just creates this noise as opposed to this, you know, nice acoustic experience. Wow. That's awesome. Do you ever have people dancing down here?
Often.
I can imagine. That's fantastic. You just hang out down here by yourself every once in a while?
It's like my church.
I guess.
When things get really stressed, I'm here or in the next room.
Ah, this is really special.
Yeah. This is Paul Potts.
Okay.
So he won the England Has Talent competition.
Yes, I'm familiar with him for sure. Fantastic. So fun. Okay.
So this cave also has a carbon dioxide monitoring system. So if we're fermenting wines down here and carbon dioxide levels get too high, it's automatically exhausted out. Oxygen automatically comes in, so it's a safe place to work.
Wow.
This is a secondary entrance or exit, so this is where the workers come down from the crush pad. This is another artist depiction of the Seven Stones, and this is a barrel lift or elevator shaft.
Oh, wow.
So this is a way that we can get barrels up and down into the caves, 8 barrels full of wine at a time. So it's our way of making life easier and not having to work so hard.
That's really well thought out.
This is my laboratory, and so winemaking is a blend of chemistry and artistry.
For sure.
So this is where the chemistry takes place.
The magic happens.
Yeah. These are our feature doors. They're solid fir. They weigh 375 pounds each side. This is the entrance into our barrel cave or wine library.
Lovely.
So this is our wine library.
Oh, it's got a very lovely smell to it.
Yeah. And so we have a case or two of every vintage that I've ever made.
Wow. And do you keep that for special like wine club members, or is that just for yourself for future comparison?
Both, yeah. My difficult job is to come down here occasionally and grab an old bottle of wine and see how it's aging. So,
It's a rough life, isn't it? It's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it.
so this is our barrel cave.
Tell us a little bit about how the staircase was built and a little bit about that.
Okay. So Vivian's oldest son, Colin, was the builder of the caves, and he's very gifted and skilled. And before he had moved here to help me build the caves, he had built a mine and a mill and a bridge. He's a very engineering type mind, but also very artistic. So to build the caves, we dug a big hole, and then we built the caves from concrete and steel, and then filled in over top. And so Colin had started the project and started the first cave, and then Colin built these caves in the parking lot, and then later dropped them into the hole that he had formed for where the spiral staircase was going to be. And the tolerance level was 1/64 of an inch.
Wow.
And they just fit perfectly. So I'm very fortunate that I have such a talented member in the family to help me with stuff.
Yes. That must have been quite a sight to see while you had all that going on out there.
Yeah, you know, Marnie, it was such a big project. It took us only 10 months to build, but it was such a big project that I lost access to my house. So I had to build a bridge from the crush pad of the winery over to the deck of the house. And we built the caves underneath the bridge. And then after they were finished, we filled in and then pulled out the bridge.
Wow.
Had Vivian seen this, she would have stopped the project because her beautiful house was threatened by a big hole.
Wow, that's crazy. You guys have some beautiful scenery there as well, and you have a gorgeous patio. What can want to tell people about that they can expect when they come and visit you at the winery?
Yeah, so we have a beautiful deck, a concrete deck that it's stamped concrete, but Collins made it look like granite with lots of sparkles, and it overlooks the valley, and it's just absolutely beautiful. So if you come here for a picnic, we serve wine by the glass out there, and it's just a very enjoyable environment. But if you want to arrive by helicopter, you can do that too. We have a helipad, and so
amazing.
We receive quite a few helicopter tours each year. Or if you just drive and want to come and taste in the tasting room, you're welcome to do that too.
Was the helicopter pad already there, or how did that?
No, we built it. I could see that there was a market for that executive type person.
Mm-hmm.
And if they weren't driving a Tesla, they were hopefully being a passenger in a helicopter. And so we've kind of stylized our whole thing to be catering to people that are a little eccentric or different.
Nice. Well, yeah, and what you're doing up there is so unique and so interesting that it definitely makes people want to share it with their friends, for sure. Mm-hmm. So tell us what kind of wines you have growing there on the property, because I believe you're all estate grown. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we're 100% estate. We have 20 acres of grapes. I'm the winemaker, and so the grapes are grown the way I want them to be grown. And I'm the winemaker, so the wine's made the way I want to make it. And so I'm kind of a control freak. We produce close to 50,000 bottles per year, and we're known for our big red wines and our underground caves. But our red wines are pretty aged. So I've been fortunate that several years ago, we decided to no longer sell grapes to other wineries and to keep them all at home. And we knew that was going to propel us into a different place where we didn't need to release wines, so we had no debt, and we could just eventually get to the point where a wine wouldn't be released until it was ready. So we're at that
Beautiful.
place now. We're serving 2012, 2013, and 14 vintages, where a lot of my colleagues are into the 17, 18s, and 19s.
Yes, absolutely.
So we're in a very fortunate place, and fortunate enough that I don't have a banker. So it's a comfortable place to be.
So tell me about the legend of the Seven Stones.
So the glaciers left 7 major rock formations in the form of large boulders or erratics, and they're scattered throughout the Similkameen Valley, and they're all significant to the native people. Each one has a story or legend attached to it. So we've developed that as our theme. And we honor 3 of the rocks with our labels: Speaking Rock, Standing Rock, and Bromley Rock. And that's how we get our name, the Seven Stones.
Wonderful. And you originally had a wine called The Legend too, but do you still have that one, or are you sold out of that one?
No, we still have it. It's
Okay.
It's the wine that we taste only one day a year, and on Father's Day.
Awesome. That's a great thing.
Yeah, and so we have lineups down our sidewalk. You know, everybody was wondering, what are these red lines for on the sidewalk? Thinking they were for COVID. They were for Father's Day.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
yeah, so we released the Legend, which is a left bank Bordeaux blend. We released that on Father's Day, and on Mother's Day we released Cabernet Franc. So moms get Frank, dads get Legend.
Sounds fair.
Yeah.
So, do you guys have a wine club up there? And what do people need to do to become part of that?
Yeah, so we have a Seven Stones Wine Club, and it has 3 different levels: clay, limestone, and boulder. And so that's 2 shipments a year, 3 shipments a year, or 4 shipments a year. And it's always red wines that we send to people, and it's always our best. And our wine club has been growing immensely. So we have about 170 members now. And I don't see anybody leaving.
Nobody's opting out.
Yeah. So in order to join, you can join by going to our website, sevenstones.ca, or you can send us a message and we'll call you back. You can send us an email message, or you can phone us, or come and visit and sign up here. And we offer it's the only place we discount our wines. And we offer some pretty unique products, even some products that I've designed for export market, only available to wine club members. And so, yeah, we have a bunch of happy people.
I guess, for sure. I also wanted to talk to you about the way the caves are set up with some of your water feature in the back. I just thought that was spectacular and wonderful, but there's a very strategic significance to that, isn't there?
Yes. So we have a waterfall underground. Our water feature is our humidifier. And we put that in because I had learned from another winemaker in Sonoma that they had a natural stream running through their cave. And I learned about the benefits of that, and so decided that's what I wanted. Now, that particular feature saves us about $80,000 a year in evaporated wine, which is very significant. It actually pays for the caves. But it's very beautiful. So the upside is we save $80,000 a year in topping wine. The downside, because of the running water, the urge to pee more often.
Yeah. How do you measure the difference in the wine that I guess is typically called angel share, which is the natural evaporation that comes from the barrels, to what you're doing now? Like, how do you measure that? That's interesting.
So, every month we top our wines with topping wine, and that's because as the wine evaporates, the level of wine goes down in the barrel and is replaced by oxygen. And so every month we would put wine in to displace the oxygen, and that would measure to about 10% of a vintage. So in real terms, that's about $120,000 a year. But because we keep the very high humidity down there because of the water feature, we cut that 10% down to 2.5%, and so using a lot less topping wine.
Awesome. Now, you also told me about something that you do there that I thought was just fascinating, and it's to do with making your Merlot and the different barrels that you were using. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? I just thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, so years ago, in maybe 2010 or 11, we ordered, say, 100 barrels for our Merlot program, and 70 of them would be French oak, and 30 of them would be American oak, because of the different flavors that the different oaks deliver. And so we need a combination of French and American oak. And so as a result of that, I decided that I would have to homogenize 70 barrels of French oak wine with 30 barrels of American oak wine. I'd have to homogenize it. That would take me about 2.5 weeks. So I decided that I would develop a barrel that would do that for me. And so our barrels, the body of the barrel is French oak, and the heads of the barrel are American oak. And I no longer have to do the homogenization. The barrel does it for me.
That's amazing. Yeah, being able to have that just all in one, and then you get the same features, obviously, from the wood into the wine. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. So what's new this year? Have you got any new wines out that you want to tell us about?
Yeah, so there's one new product this year. It's called Pebble Beach, and it's a white product, and it's a blend of orange muscat and Chardonnay. And we made 55 cases and released it about a month ago, and from what I saw this morning, we have 2 cases left. So.
Oh, wow. So if you're watching this show and you want to get some, you better call in quick.
Yeah. And but this year we also have, for the first time, and it's only available to our wine club members, we have a 100% Malbec. And
wow.
It's beautiful. So. And we also have available to our wine club members 100% Petit Verdot, and it's also very beautiful.
Awesome. What vintage are those, George? Are they
2018?
2018 for both. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Well, that's a definite perk for being a part of the wine club, for sure.
Absolutely. We're really into making blends here, right? So I made a couple of products for export purposes. One's called Erratic, and it's a right bank Bordeaux blend. We have another product called Boulder, and it's a left bank Bordeaux blend, meaning it's Cab Sauv dominant. And of course, we have the Legend, which is a barrel select left bank Bordeaux. So next year, we're going to be offering premium tastings of those 3 products, and as well as tastings of our single varietal wine. So we're going to divvy up our menu a little bit, but I'm pretty sure that people are going to be raving about what we're introducing here in the new year. So.
Absolutely. Now, for people that aren't familiar, I'm sure that there are some people that are a little bit more savvy and have been in the wine world a bit longer, but maybe describe just for our newer listeners what the difference between a right bank Bordeaux and a left bank Bordeaux would be.
Yeah, so a right bank Bordeaux is a Merlot dominant blend, and the left bank Bordeaux is a Cab Sauv dominant blend. And so if you were floating down the Gironde River in Bordeaux region in France, on the left bank, most of the plantings are Cab Sauv with some Cab Franc and some Merlot. And on the right-hand side, if you were floating downriver, most of the plantings are Merlot with some Cab Franc and some Cab Sauv.
Okay.
So France is coined left bank and right bank, and so we just follow those footsteps and make 2 wines that are exactly the opposite of each other.
So when you're not busy in the vineyard and not making incredible wine, what does George have in his glass? What are you drinking from the BC palate that you don't necessarily produce at your winery?
Yeah, so one of my favorite smaller wineries, and I have to preface this that I prefer smaller wineries than larger wineries.
Okay.
But Riverstone makes a couple of really good products. And so the product that I have in my glass right now is
Ah,
Cab
perfect.
Franc from Riverstone.
Riverstone. Nice.
And this is a 2014 vintage, and it's showing itself really, really well.
That's
Yeah,
great.
beautiful. Yeah.
I should have brought my own.
Now, what kind of wine do you drink in your glass, Marnie?
Oh my goodness. Well, I'm probably drinking Seven Stones. That's the right answer to the question.
Thank you.
Yes, no, it's been just a pleasure to have an opportunity to sit with you, George. And I know it's a crazy busy time of year with harvest and crushing and all of that. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to spend some time with me and our viewers. And we'll look forward to seeing you up at the winery, hopefully very soon.
Thank you, Marnie. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, have a really good day. Thanks, George.
You too.
Thanks for joining me today for this episode of the BC Wine Show and Podcast. If you like this episode, please hit the big like and subscribe button right down below and click the bell to be notified of all future episodes. If you'd like more information, you can pop over to the bcwineshow.ca and sign up for email updates, where I share recipes, wine suggestions, tips, and other things I only share in email. Thanks again for joining me for this episode of the BC Wine Show and Podcast. And until next time, stay safe, be kind, and enjoy responsibly.